They say you never forget the day 3 patrol cars box you in your own driveway with your 10-year-old twins watching from the porch, and your neighbor Linda Ashford standing smug on the curb, phone glued to her ear like she's ordering an airstrike. I'll tell you what, if you've never had someone try to get you arrested for military intimidation tactics just for parking at your own house, count yourself lucky. Because 3 months ago, I thought running a brigade of 12,000 soldiers at Fort Carson was the toughest thing life could throw at me. Turns out I was dead wrong. One 52-year-old HOA treasurer with a white BMW and a vendetta for uniforms. Buddy, she'll chew you up and spit you out medals and all. I'm Marcus Ricks, and if you'd told me then that my biggest enemy would be a neighbor and not some insurgent overseas, I'd have laughed in your face. But that's before Linda, before the daily crunch of gravel under my boots, before my kids started asking if we belonged in our own neighborhood, before my 73-year-old dad, Vietnam vet Purple Heart, doesn't always know my name, would look at me with that clear-eyed stare and say, "Son, you're at war again, only the rules are all screwed up." See, my wife Sarah was deployed in Germany. It was just me, Jake and Emma, and Dad, who mostly remembered the 60s, but sometimes recognized the present if you caught him during coffee at dawn. And home Maplewood subdivision, with its cookie-cutter lawns and too precise mailbox heights, was supposed to be our sanctuary. Only Linda Ashford didn't see it that way. She moved in right after her husband lost out on a fat base maintenance contract over $2 million. And she made it clear on day one that military families were bringing down property values. Never mind, I'd been here 8 years longer than most real civilians on the block. Her SUV parked at the same weird angle every day, like a parade float for entitled living. Her lawn looked like Augusta National. Her smile sharp enough to slice bread if she ever bothered to bake any. And the first shot fired was a Tuesday me parking my F-150 so the kids could get their bikes out, or storming over like a district attorney in a home goods pantsuit, phone up, snapping photos. This is a residential neighborhood, not a military base. She huffed Nail's sparkling voice carrying over the sound of roadwork and diesel trucks. That vehicle blocked sight lines for emergency services. Yeah, coming from a woman whose BMW could haul a platoon. I kept it polite, training's hard to break. "Ma'am, this is my driveway." She starts quoting HOA bylaws like scripture, then speed dials the cops. Officer Martinez shows up. He knows me, knows my record, knows Linda's full of it, but protocol is protocol. He goes through the motions, questions me, while Linda's behind him nodding like a dashboard bobblehead. That night, standing on my back deck watching Dad work the tomato garden with hands that once field-stripped rifles in the jungle, I started to realize this wasn't random neighbor drama. This was personal. Dad nailed it. She's just like the political officers in Saigon. All eyes, all control. Patterns started popping. Linda at her window, phone in hand during school pickup. Linda out front every time military families were outside. Then one after another violation notices. 7 in 10 days. My truck combat equipment. Starting it up for PT, disturbing the peace. Fixing a busted fence board, unauthorized modification. But it wasn't just me. Every citation was hyper-specific, citing bylaws no normal person's ever read. Someone was on a mission. It got real when Emma Tear streaming told me Mrs. Ellie said she couldn't be safety patrol captain anymore because military families move too much. Some moms at the school said we don't belong, that we're just passing through. Jake's fists were balled up, white-knuckled, and I could feel the burn in my own chest. Dad watched from the recliner, eyes focused sharp, the way he used to look right before a firefight. I stayed up late, coffee fueling me, combing through public HOA records. It's wild what's online, every complaint, every violation, every outcome. And sure enough, military families were getting 73% of the violations when we're barely a quarter of the neighborhood. It wasn't just me. Master Sergeant Rodriguez next door, 8 violations. Captain Williams, 12. Lieutenant Bailey, 15. All for nonsense flag. Too big, truck too loud, grass too short. Civilians, warnings, No fines, but Linda's own fence was modified. Her husband's diesel was louder than mine. Nothing. It was targeted, systematic, like a campaign. And the kicker, she wasn't working alone. Other families were getting the same treatment. School board complaints, PTA shunning kids, kicked off teams, all coordinated, all with Linda's name in the mix. It kept ramping up Emma's spot in the gifted program. Maybe unavailable Jake's friends ousted from student council. The new parent committee decided unstable military families shouldn't have leadership roles. My coffee mug nearly shattered on the counter. At the next school board meeting, Linda stood up, navy blazer, PowerPoint ready, spouting statistics about military instability, behavioral issues from combat exposure. She even used air quotes like PTSD was some excuse. Then she made it personal. Take Colonel Hicks's family complaints about intimidation violations, children struggling to adapt. My jaw clenched so hard I thought my teeth would crack. But the military taught me when someone targets your family, you don't just get mad, you get organized. I mapped every connection, called every family, compared notes. Across 3 neighborhoods and 2 city councils, it was the same story, coordinated harassment. And Linda. She was the hub. A coalition of concerned mothers with her running point. When Officer Martinez knocked again, this time with a thick stack of paperwork, I invited him in, laid out the timeline. 3 false reports in a week, Martinez. Security footage shows I never even approached her property. He shook his head, said the department was getting swamped with her complaints. And here's a thing most people don't know: file more than 2 false police reports in a month and it triggers a review. Linda had just painted herself into a corner, but then she took it nuclear. Out of the blue, I get a call from base security. My fitness for command is under review. Why civilian complaints about aggressive behavior, intimidation, and PTSD incidents? She'd gone after my career, weaponizing the bureaucracy I'd spent my life serving. And just when I thought it couldn't get any uglier, Rodriguez calls his wife at the school district, says Linda's running a spreadsheet tracking military families, their schedules, kids' vulnerabilities, deployment dates. That's not just harassment, that's reconnaissance. Friday morning, Linda's outside filming as I load the kids into the truck, narrating to her phone about intimidation tactics. That afternoon, she steps behind my reversing truck, shrieking for the police. He's trying to run me over. My camera caught it all, but more my security system picked up her whispering into the phone. This should be the final complaint. Once they remove him, we'll get the rest of these military families out. There it was, conspiracy caught red-handed. I fused my documentation with intel from other families, what we call multi-source analysis. The web was bigger than I thought. School officials, zoning, commission, city planning, all connected. Federal law doesn't play with this stuff. The Military Family Protection Act, that's teeth. And when civilians coordinate to target service members, it's a federal crime. I pulled every string, built the coalition, handed the evidence to JAG. Major Stevens, my legal officer, flipped through the file and grinned. Colonel, you've just written a federal prosecutor's dream. Restitution alone, almost 400 grand in damages to families. And the base. They'd had enough. We coordinated, built support, got the feds involved. Linda tried one last Hail Mary city inspector at my door clipboard, shaking, asking about explosive storage. I almost laughed. Invited him in, gave him coffee, watched him admit he'd been given maps and records by Linda herself. That wasn't neighborly complaint, that was an intelligence briefing. It finally broke when my kids came home scared stiff because someone at school told them military dads sometimes snap. Linda had moved from harassment to psychological warfare using children. The next call confirmed it. She'd been digging for medical and security records on military families' kids, posing as needing emergency plans. Then base security traced some of those info requests to foreign-connected sources. Whether she knew it or not, Linda was part of something way bigger, maybe even espionage. Federal agents swooped in. Surveillance footage caught Linda meeting 2 men in her driveway. Documents changing hands, plates, and faces, all on tape. When she called a press conference in my front yard ranting about military intimidation, she didn't know the FBI was listening in. That media circus was her final act, her confession, her intentions, her hate for military families, all broadcast live. Within days, federal arrest warrants were signed. Linda, her co-conspirators, they got the knock at dawn. At the command office, surrounded by charts and timelines, she sat across from me. No more smirk, no more attitude. "Why am I being treated like a criminal?" she demanded. The answer was simple. You crossed the line. This isn't about driveways. It's about federal law, national security, and the rights of every family who serves. In the end, Linda and her crew lost it all. HOA dissolved, federal restitution paid out, families restored. But it's not just about money. It's about the message. Mess with one of us, you answer to all of us. My kids got their lives back. Dad's mind calmer, sharper out in the garden with neighborhood kids asking him about his war stories. Sarah came home to a peaceful house, and our community learned what real strength and loyalty look like. If there's one lesson I took from this mess, it's that you document everything. Never let hate and ignorance drive you out of your own home. When you stand up together, even the worst campaigns fall apart. Karma came for Linda. Federal prison lost position, shame for a lifetime. Our neighborhood, though, got a second chance. So let me ask you, where's the line between standing up for your rights and taking justice into your own hands? Have you ever faced someone like Linda share your story? Because the only way we stop these campaigns is by shining a light and standing together. And if you're still with me, don't forget to subscribe, because next week I'll tell you how I exposed a $2.3 million contractor scam targeting veterans. Until then, remember, military families don't just defend the country, they defend each other. Welcome home.